I'm Gab, he's Jules, blue skies, sort of, over West London. Jules, we're back. We're
We're
back from our
back.
holidays. Yes, we are entitled. Now that we've officially unionized,
Yeah.
we are entitled to at least one show off. Thank you, during the season. Anyway, there is a ton to get into because Real Madrid losing top spot in La Liga, Lens losing top spot in Ligue 1, Bayern nearly throwing it away. But we're going to start with the Premier League because we have a proper title race, I
Yeah.
think it's fair to say.
Absolutely.
Manchester City winning on Saturday after Arsenal dropped points in midweek against Wolves and the North London derby. And that's where we're going to start because obviously you wanted a reaction. And I was struck by this. And you can tell me if I'm off base. Mikel Arteta, when you drop points, which they did in their last two Premier League games, right, 4 points dropped, you're tempted, okay, we can either do things differently or do the same things and do them better. It looked to me, while obviously he changed some personnel, Saka moving back to the wing and whatever, he's like, no, this is our game plan. This is our structure, the 4-2-3-1. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to bring back Eze. I'm going to have the wingers. I'm not going to mess with Gyökeres. Where's you going to go? We're going to do our thing. We're going to outplay them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the right thing to do. I think it was pretty logical. That's why everybody expected to. Odegaard could have started.
Sorry, it's logical, but then you look at Pep Guardiola, and that's not what he does.
But that's not what Arteta
It's a different
does.
manager. No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So Arteta, knowing Arteta, you knew that it was going to be like this. The question was more Odegaard or Eze, for example. And I have to be honest, I didn't think Eze would start this game. I had Odegaard starting, I think like everybody else. Especially
Odegaard hasn't started a game in, a month? Something
Yeah,
like that?
yeah, but now he was ready and fit to play, and I think he could have played more than just the 30 minutes that he had or 20 minutes that he had in the end. But I thought it was probably the right call in the end, all over the pitch from Mikel Arteta. Okay, Spurs are a terrible team this season. They are. I don't think Igor Tudor could have made any miracle between the day he took over and this game. There's too much gap between the two teams, especially with all the injuries at Spurs. But I thought it was an outstanding performance from Arsenal from start to finish. It's a game they should have won 6-0, really.
Yeah, I thought it was very, very accomplished. And, normally you can break it down to incidents that went Arsenal's way, like that David Raya scrambled save on the goal line. You can say that. You can say about the Gabriel and Colomwani disallowed goal, which we'll get to later. But bottom line is, I think Spurs, through the first sort of 60-odd minutes, had only 3 shots.
Yeah.
And what I liked about Arsenal, too, is Spurs set out to be defensive, and Arsenal said, you know what? Sure, give us the ball. We're not known as a super possession and movement team under Arteta, but we're comfortable enough and confident enough that we can play this way and take the game to you and create chances. From Spurs' perspective, we were talking off air before. I look at Tudor and I look at the players he have, and I looked at the guys who did not come on. He made 3 substitutions. Matisse Tell making a cameo 2 minutes from time.
Yeah.
The rest of the guys on the bench are people who I couldn't pick out of a police lineup. Like, I genuinely don't know who some of these guys are, I know who they are because I can read their names, right? But if Wilson or stuff like that walked in, would you recognize him?
Wilson, I know because he's a player
because he was
few
in
Premier League
Scotland.
clubs, a few Premier League clubs wanted to sign him. The rest were kids, and then you had the
Right.
3 forwards that he had on the bench. Obviously, it's a squad ridden by injuries. I get that. I was disappointed by his team selection from the start to only go with 2 forwards and 9 defensive players because you only have Xavi Simons and Colomwani. I thought Solanke should have started every single day with Colomwani and Simons instead of Colomwani if you wanted to just keep the 2 forwards. I just think for your debut in a game where you've got nothing to lose, just at least try for it. You've got nothing to lose.
It's
You've
still a
arrived.
derby. You just arrived. I think he wanted to make his mark. I mean, look, I think
How
more
being
telling.
super defensive like that with 9 defensive players.
Yeah,
It doesn't
and
work.
I think his idea was to go and look at the fact, like, I think Spurs hadn't played in 10 days or 12 days, something
12
like
days,
that.
yeah.
And so you would imagine them to be fresher than Arsenal, who played in midweek. And he's given them all this tactical instruction over these last 12 days. I think his plan was to go and actually, we're going to out-physical them. We're going to be defensive. We're going to be direct. We're going to be rugged. That was his plan. Arsenal said, okay, fine. I'll see you that. And we're going to do our thing and just score goals against you. And I think
I thought it
Arsenal
was
blunted that really, really well.
Yeah, I mean, if that was the plan, because I was at the game, I didn't
Didn't
really
work.
see a plan. It didn't work. They were playing too deep. He trying to push them on, didn't work. I'm not really sure what he was trying to do.
You were there, and I want to ask you. You said something again off air, which I thought was interesting, right? Sort of Tudor's game plan, and I mentioned I thought they were going to be more physical, more trying to be more bossy. Ended up just being more defensive and more passive. And you made a point about how there was such great energy in the stadium,
Yeah.
and that maybe with hindsight, he should have chucked on another striker, and you should have tried to be more proactive.
I think so.
Take the game to Arsenal.
Yeah, and I don't want to blame it. It was difficult anyway. Arsenal, as we said, a very good team, and even with the game at Wolves and the game at Brentford before that, they're still outstanding. And you are without 12 or 13 first-team players. It's difficult. So I don't want to blame Tudor really, but where I felt that he missed a trick a bit is you knew. I mean, I arrived at the stadium really early at 11:30 for the game at 4:30. And even then, when it was quiet, they were rehearsing things in the stadium. You had the people who work there, but you knew the atmosphere would be electric. The Spurs fans hadn't seen their team for 12 days. It's a new manager. With a new manager comes, whether you like the appointment of Tudor or not, or his pedigree, the way he plays, it doesn't matter. There's always a bit of excitement, right? It's like a new signing.
Yeah.
So you knew, and it's the derby, and it's Arsenal who are on the ropes a little bit, and you fighting to not go down. And it was exactly that. The atmosphere was fantastic. And yet, the first 5 minutes, I think the possession for Arsenal is 85% to 15.
Yeah.
So the atmosphere went straight, Gabby, from, let's say, 150% to 15. And then you could see the nerves coming in, not from the Arsenal end or the Arsenal players, but from all the Spurs fans. And it became quiet. And that should have actually been such a weapon in a way for Tudor. And instead, it wasn't.
Yeah, first half possession stats, I think it was 72% Arsenal.
Yeah, to 28, yeah.
Which that really can't
That was
happen. That tells you that we're just going to be passive. And I'm surprised, too, on the physical front. You know, there's a stereotype of like the Merseyside derby in the first 5 minutes, the referee won't call a foul, and they go, and I didn't want to see people go and muller each other. But I do think, especially given that stat that you said, if the first minutes go by and you're not getting the ball, what about some physicality? What about somebody going in? Maybe you get a foul, you get the crowd going or something, a 50-50. Instead, it just looked like he just kept retreating. And
apart from Bissouma and Spence, I think they were the only two. There's one tackle by Van de Ven at some point just in front of Saka that got the crowd a little bit. But again, it's not enough. And he's only been there 3 minutes. So it's probably more difficult. And we probably see more next weekend at Fulham, what they do and how they play and things like that. But I just thought he should have used that energy from the crowd, and instead they didn't. And by being so defensive and so passive, that nullified almost the advantage that they had from being at home with that crowd in the derby. And yeah, it was. I think it was a shame and an opportunity missed.
As you know, I think goal difference is a big lie, and I don't believe it exists.
I know you do.
I also think sort of points totals and league places can be big lies if taken out of context. So last year, Spurs had a terrible season, and I think they finished 13 points clear of the relegation zone. Right now, they're 4 points clear of the relegation zone. I'm pretty sure they will not finish 13 points clear this year. In fact, I'm just about 99% sure. And yet, they're actually a place above where they were last year. I'm just saying like lies, statistics, meaningless stuff. But I think what is meaningful is when I compare it to last season they did not have this incredible rash of injuries that they've had this year. Whether
they had some,
but not to the level of this year.
Maybe not, but they still had some.
And they're actually doing slightly better in the league, weirdly. And so I'm asking, are they actually better than last season, or is it just another wasted year? I don't want to say last season was wasted because they won the Europa League. Fine.
Yeah.
But in terms of progress, in terms of team building.
No, there's no team progress. There's no team building. I think it's still a squad, as we've been saying all season long, that is not good enough. They had a terrible summer transfer window, and probably apart from Gallagher, I guess, and even as I'm watching him yesterday, I'm not really sure what he brings to the team.
Yeah, I do. You have to have a go at Conor Gallagher.
No, but I'm not sure. I mean, I think again in January.
He brings energy.
Yeah, okay. Good for him. But then they needed more than just the Gallagher energy in January to make this team better, and they didn't. So I don't know where you go from here. You wait for Poch, okay, we know that, but there's so much to do, really. And I know there's still the Champions League, and people seem still saying like, yeah, but look, in the Champions League they were so great. Okay, they had an incredible fixture list and schedule. They finished top 8, and they will have last 16 rounds. But I don't think they will go much further than that, certainly. But I think this season in the league, they've won 2 home games. Imagine paying your season ticket, whatever level you are at, if it's an expensive one, not expensive, it doesn't matter. And every 2 weeks, you go to the stadium, you've got your usual routine, you go with your friends or with your family on your own, whatever, and you see that team lose it. And not just losing, Gab, losing in that kind of way. Yesterday was humiliating, really.
Yeah.
It was humiliating. People were leaving super early. It was humiliating. But so many games have been like that.
By the way, and I'm curious, I didn't see him on television, but he might have been there. Did you see Johnny Heitinga there?
No, he's gone. He's gone.
Oh, he's gone
Yeah,
now.
he's gone.
Okay, thank you.
gone. He's
So
gone.
again, I'm sorry, I got to do this. Another thing about clubs and accountability. I would like to know,
Yeah.
somebody, if I were a Spurs fan, I would like, whether it's Mr. Johan or whether it's one of the ownership group,
Yeah.
come out and tell me, why did we bring this guy in to be first team coach? It was just solely to undermine Thomas Frank, who then we were going to sack anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good point.
I honestly, I need these, but this is what gets me, right? Players make mistakes, they get slaughtered. Managers make mistakes, they make slaughtered. Thomas Frank made a ton of mistakes, but this is a club thing. At least it deserves some kind of
Yeah.
explanation.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, I don't want to talk about Spurs and relegation, so I
You
don't
don't
want
want
to
to.
do that. But what I
They're
will
going to
say
stay up
this,
for sure. You guarantee they're staying up.
I will not broach that subject.
So it's Forest or West Ham going down for you?
Yes,
One
right
of them
now,
two.
yes.
Nobody else. No Leeds,
When-
no Spurs.
When facts change, opinions change. But as of
Okay.
right now,
As of right now.
that's what I'm
Okay.
sticking with. But I do want to say this about Pochettino. Waiting for Pochettino is absolutely idiotic. And I will say this now. Do not do it. There's a whole history of situations where people have made deals with coaches before World Cups or Euros. And generally, it doesn't, it always ends badly. I mean, obviously, we saw the Lopetegui fiasco and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But what you need to do right now, and this is different from when Conte came in, for example, to Chelsea after the Euros and won the league, right? You need planning. You need brains in the room. You need people answering questions, assessing players.
Now you mean?
Well, you need it. You can't start doing it in July.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right? You need to bring in a coach when you need to decide who you want. And ideally, you need a coach that can join you in June, in early June. You know, if he can meet another club now, I don't care. Maybe it'll be Tudor. I don't know. But to go and wait for Pochettino, especially with his personality,
Yeah, I
how
see what
crap
you
he is with the media, the fact that he is hosting a World Cup, right?
Yeah.
Just layer all these things on top of everything. And I'm pretty sure he has a multi-year contract as well.
No. It finishes in September.
Okay, fine. But, you
He'll be
know,
out of contract.
you don't need all this nonsense. You really don't.
No, I know. I hear
And
you.
it's not like, oh, look, I'm bringing in, Pep Guardiola and the son of God. No, I'm not. I'm bringing in freaking Pochettino, with all due
True.
respect.
But
Who's
if
a better
Poch-
manager than Thomas Frank? Fine.
Yeah, but if Pochettino wants to come back, which seems to be the case, and they want him back, and the fans want him back, and okay, then I think you would think that if he's ready for that,
Yeah.
he's ready to start working on. I know he's thinking about the US men's national team right now, and it's probably difficult to do both. I get that, but this is also part of it. Otherwise, he puts himself out and says, "Listen, I can't do both right now."
Yeah.
And he would know that you're right, that if he can't start planning for next season as soon as there's an agreement between him and Spurs, then may as well not do it.
And the way I look at this is, you tell him, Poch, if you want to do this, resign from the US job, and come join us at the end of the season. If this is what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
Because we need full focus.
No,
we
no,
need the
no,
brains all engaged on this because we have so much work to do
Yeah,
to turn
yeah.
this around. A couple things on the Arsenal front. I sort of thought like, okay, everything went wrong for them, right? One big major thing went wrong. Declan Rice, I think, completely responsible for the goal.
I know, love.
And it's really funny because it's so rare like I always make this point, right? When there's an individual mistake from somebody who rarely makes individual mistakes, I'm okay with it because people are going to screw up at some point, right? Even Bono sings out of tune sometimes, right? And I was thinking, oh, what's the last individual mistake he made? And I'm like, I remember. Remember, there's the Sunderland game. He cost them a goal. He cost them 2 points. The Ballard game, the one that finished 2-2, right?
Did he? No.
Yeah.
That was Rice.
One was Rice and one was Saliba, if you remember the 2 goals.
Gabriel, no, I thought he was.
Or Gabriel, one of the center backs. But anyway, this is how rare it is that I remember the last time the guy screwed up, right? And it was months ago.
Yeah, I liked his reaction. I mean, I know there's... But I guess some people, maybe not people like him, but some people could have had their head dropped and instead... Also, I think he knew, and everybody in the stadium knew. I know Spurs scored and it was 1-1, but they were never going to not be beaten, and Arsenal were always going to win. So I think it was easy for him to go like, let's go, let's do this, and like he did because he kind of knew the outcome of the game anyway. Spurs
scored another goal, which was disallowed. Colomwani, 2 hands on Gabriel's back. Now, I think, I've argued this for a long time, you put 2 hands on an opponent in any context, especially ball coming into the box, it's a foul every time. It's just case closed. There is no reason you need to do that, right? Yeah. That said, we've seen it not called so many times this season, right? Because people are like, oh, he needs to be braver, physical game, yada, yada, whatever nonsense they say, right? So was Gabriel maybe a little bit rash letting himself fall there?
I think it was risky.
Very risky.
I think he gets the ball. If he wants to, he gets the ball. Even with a little push from Colomwani, he gets a header. No,
or at least
header.
He puts Colomwani off, so Colomwani
I think he gets the ball. Probably he flicks it back instead of facing it like that. So it's risky. I think from where I was sat, I think the ref gave it before even the ball hit the back of the net. So it was not, it was not like a reaction from the ref. It's a bit soft. I agree with you, but I'm with you as well. 2 hands, and the referee saw it really well. Yeah, it was not overturned by VAR. It was
You don't put yourself in that situation if you're Gabriel. You're not jumping against Duncan Ferguson. You don't need to. Yeah. All right. Final thought. I think we need to talk percentages now since we were last on because circumstances have changed.
You said when one of the two drop points, you come on the show and say, okay, City have dropped points, what's the percentage? Arsenal have dropped points, what's the percentage?
Because the percentages change. It's like the stock market. The reality is now we're in a situation where the gap is 5 points, where City have a game in hand. Yeah. This is that situation where if both these teams, either one of these teams wins out the rest of the season, they become champions. Yeah. Which is pretty cool as a
It is amazing.
It's amazing. So the question to me is, as of right now, if City win their game in hand, then that game at the Etihad is like a final. The advantage to Arsenal is that 2 out of 3 results will go their way, right? For that reason, I'll go with the percentages first.
Go on.
I still have Arsenal at a good 70%. I think, and we'll talk about this later, but I think Pep changing things around as often as he does, I don't think it's helpful. I think it's harmful to City.
Okay.
Or I think it's more of a risk of it being harmful to City. So that's why I'm going to go as high as 70%. I have a feeling you're going to go lower.
Yeah, I was going to say 65-35.
Right.
Because I think 2 points is still significant. Slightly better goal difference, as we know, you don't
There's no such
believe
thing.
in it. There's no such thing, but it still matters.
I think also with the goal difference, if City have to win their games, right? So presumably
for now,
those 4 they're going to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless they win them 1-0 or something.
For now, 2 points and plus 3, I think it is of difference.
Plus 4, I think.
Plus 4 is there. That's why I think Arsenal 65. I think is a fair reflection of where they are right now.
There you have it.